Here. Representative Hollis. Representative Holsey.
Here.
Representative Kirkland.
Here.
Representative Lipscomb.
Yeah.
Representative Marcus.
Here.
Representative Moore. Representative Travis. Representative Wilcox.
Here.
Okay, this first take up Senate Bill 271 by Senator Allen, and I think Representative Crawford is going to handle that bill.
Oh, they're not? SB 271 deals with franchise fees and municipalities police jurisdiction. It's like 3% and municipality is 1.5% police jurisdiction. That is a gross sales of the utility. What this does, it will freeze that at those levels, and if there's any increases, the people of that municipality will vote on it. As a general rule, it's a pass through. They go up, then the utility will increase their fee to the customers, and so it gives them a chance to have input.
Any questions, comments from committee members?
I just have one quick question, sir. This explicitly is talking about class municipalities, and I apologize if this was a dumb question, but because we don't change classifications based on their growth, how is this going to impact like class 6, 7, 8 that really are the size of 4, 5, 6s now, and we're moving closer in terms of population and the things that they're having to do, that they're never going to have that classification change ever again?
Well, this will make everything consistent, you know, and then it's with utilities, this is adding manufactured gas and natural gas utilities.
So right now, the others are excluded and this one is not?
They have a ceiling, and this one does not.
Okay, Representative Hollis?
At the appropriate time, I have a meeting.
Okay.
It's the appropriate time.
You have an amendment?
Yes. Yes. Why y'all laughing? Do the right thing. Well, anyway, this amendment, it excludes class 1 municipalities, by adding the following language, and everyone should have one. And it states that the provisions of subsection B.
All we have is a piece of paper.
That is that not the amendment at the bottom?
That's not.
No,
No one gave it.
Yes, if you have it.
It does say on the bottom of this sheet of
Here it is
paper,
right
it's
here.
highlighted,
Well, you also have it with your
but I don't have that.
You don't. That's a fiscal matter.
Let me say.
Oh, damn sure.
No one gave me one, Representative Hollis. I'm sorry, I don't have one.
Okay, so how in the hell I'm gonna get an amendment?
Who had it?
Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you what it say, then I'll write it out. Now, I don't like no half-done stuff. But anyway, this amendment, it excludes class 1 municipalities by adding the following language. The provisions of subsections B through F shall not apply to class 1 municipalities as defined in section 11 dash 40-12 of the Code of Alabama 1975. And if you give me a sheet of paper, I'll write it.
She got 4 of them.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
all right, Representative Givens.
What is a class 1 municipality?
Birmingham. And did you not get this sheet right here to explain it?
This, okay, so
Okay.
we're working from this now?
Yeah. I'm writing. That's what we're working on.
Representative Lipscomb.
Representative Hollis, out of curiosity, why are we excluding? Representative Hollis,
Yes.
why are we excluding Birmingham?
Because that's what they wanted, that's what they wanted.
Okay, I'll tell you what, Representative Hollis. Let's carry this bill over temporarily, and we got this public hearing on the other bill.
That's fine.
And in the meantime, we'll come back and talk about that.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
So
we're
we'll
going
leave it right
to carry this
now.
bill over also,
So,
so,
Mr. Chairman, you're gonna carry it over after the next bill and then bring it back up?
yes. Okay. So let's go on to, House Bill 606 is a public hearing, we'll be voting this bill today by Representative Blackshear. So Representative Blackshear.
Chairman and committee members, and I'll give you enough time, you can write that out, Representative Hollis, as we walk through this. HB 606, what we're looking at doing with this is an existing law today as it relates to ALDOT and road projects. And I'll make sure I'm trying to clarify a couple of things as we walk through this. Simply what we're trying to clarify within this piece of legislation is a couple of things. Number one, currently in the ALDOT handbook today, broadband is considered and is defined as a utility. But in the state law as it exists today, broadband is not currently defined as a utility. So that would be number one that this bill does, is making sure that the language in the legislation in the state law would match what's in the ALDOT handbook as it relates specifically to broadband. Secondly, going through some research, the current law today has a $250 million threshold for companies, if that's their gross income, to be eligible for reimbursement, being $250 million is the line. Below that, you're eligible and can be considered for reimbursement for projects when it comes to relocation of utilities. $250 million and above, you're excluded from even having a seat at the table to be considered to be reimbursed. What this would do is strike that piece in the current law and make it to where any utilities that potentially would be involved in a road project moving forward could be considered for reimbursement. Now, a couple things that excludes from this: counties and cities, and the monies they get for their locals, from their local gas tax and so forth, is not part of this piece of legislation. That stays as is today. Second piece of that is the interstate highways, the commerce and stuff, the straight federal projects on the interstates throughout the state. Those too are excluded from being impacted from this as well. What it impacts is other state projects and other state right-of-ways throughout the state. I think, the concern with this is recently with Rebuild Alabama, we're doing more road projects than we've ever done before. We also know the billions of dollars that we've made a conscious effort in expanding rural broadband across the state. We want to make sure that we don't have an opportunity of broadband grants that have been utilized to grow our network in the rural areas of the state all of a sudden have to be redone because of road projects going forward. And again, all this is doing is it's not putting in the law that ALDOT shall reimburse. It's that they shall gather an estimate from these utility companies as part of the overall project when they go have an opportunity to go to the feds to get matching dollars from the federal government, to be to have those costs considered in a project going forward. And the last piece of this is it would not be effective until October 1st of 2026. So any current projects that are underway, any current projects that have already been let, and any that are on the books that potentially will be let and awarded a contract on prior to October 1st of 2026, it stays currently as the law is today. So basically, just summarize it up and to say that I also pulled the 12 states around us, because when we first started this, ALDOT informed us that $250 million was a federal standard, the federal guidelines. We were able to uncover that's inaccurate. The other 11 states we looked at, Alabama is the only one that has a $250 million dollar requirement to either opt in or opt out for reimbursement. And that has grown over the years to a higher level moving forward. So I'll pause with that and see if there's any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we'll start on with the public hearing, and due to the fact many of us got to get to other committee meetings at 12:30, we're going to limit this to 3 minutes per speaker. And so we got the 3 signed up for proponents and 1 is opponent. So let's start off with proponents first.
Justin Bailey.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to be here again. My name is Justin Bailey. I'm with the Alabama Cable Broadband Association. As Representative Blackshear pointed out, Alabama's been on the forefront of broadband. The state has chosen to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to get to the hardest of housing. In addition to state funds, private companies that have invested hundreds of millions of dollars to get to these hardest of hard households. We're at kind of a turning point. Most of you have an expansion project going on in your district, and if you don't, they will be awarded soon, as the federal government has awarded Alabama $1.4 billion to complete, to get every household served. So it's the bold decisions of this legislature who's led to broadband expansion and achieving our goal of border-to-border connectivity. Additionally, those same bold decisions have led to Rebuild Alabama. We're kind of at an inflection point where these two programs are going to meet together. Broadband infrastructure projects are created and funded with very slim margins in order to protect the investment of the state and its providers. Unanticipated and uncontrolled relocation costs on these investments are creating an environment of uncertainty for ISPs. Utilities are reimbursed for federally funded projects. Some are eligible for the state and federal split projects. What we hope with 606 is that all companies will be on an even playing field for reimbursement. Any questions?
Any questions?
Tony Harris, AlDOT.
I ain't sure anything.
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman, members, I'm Tony Harris, the Chief of Communication and Government Relations for the Department of Transportation. Justin points out an interesting reality. We face a public policy decision point. House Bill 606, let's consider the fiscal impacts. With the passage of Rebuild Alabama, we've emerged from nearly 3 decades without any increase, where our transportation funding was stagnant. Just as we're making progress again with congestion relief and providing new opportunities through economic development road programs, House Bill 606 could introduce up to $100 million in new utility relocations every year, diverting funds from critical road and bridge initiatives. We estimate that we derived that estimate from the fact that there were 168 non-reimbursable utility relocations over the last 2 years. Increased state expenditures would reduce available funds for matching federal dollars, so that would be an impact. And a concern that will surely resonate with anyone familiar with the general fund budgeting process, there's a 5% gross receipts tax on contractor payments that generates revenue for the Department of Mental Health. A $100 million shift from construction projects, money that we pay to contractors, to reimbursements for utility relocations would increase would result in an additional $5 million in lost revenue to mental health. Of course, at some point, the higher AlDOT's mandated utility relocation costs climb, our ability to do projects will simply be shut down. A quick word about those impacts. House Bill 606, if it's enacted, it's likely that one of the first impacts we would see is our bridge replacement program. We estimate that it would probably cut our bridge replacement program from 8 to 12 bridges to somewhere around 4 to 6 bridges replaced every year. Those projects tend to have a lot of utility reimbursements. Cities and counties would be affected by the cost of utility relocations, driving up overall projects for anything funded by HRIP-2, the annual grant program, and anything funded by the NPO process, those funds. In districts, projects like the Gadsden Eastern Connector, State Route 167 in Coffee County, Highway 72 in Representative Crawford's district, all those and more could face increased costs, possibly making them unaffordable. This would be a new subsidy to the utility industry that no other sector of our economy gets. Okay. Thank you, General ladies.
Sean Strickler.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Sean Strickler. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs for Alabama Rural Electric Association. Speaking on behalf of the association as well as the Electric Institute of Alabama, which is all of the electric utility providers plus partners coming together to talk about issues that impact them. Utility relocation has been an extremely contentious part of what we've had to deal with over the last 5 years. There has been a major increase in the amount of road projects that have gone on, and one thing that I would like to inform the committee on is we're not opposed to that. We think it's great that roads are being widened, that the gas tax revenues are coming in so that we can relieve congestion. However, We have put utility infrastructure in place next to or in the right-of-way with AlDOT to serve those people in that community. These expansion projects, the congestion there is not created by the local people in that community. In many cases, it's created by people in state that are an influx to that area or from out of state. If it's a state need, it should be state funded and not put on the backs of the local utility consumers in that area to widen a road. It will create economic development, it will create a lot of things for that area, but it is a help to the entire state. Who should cover the cost of utility relocation in an overall road project when we were told to go in a certain place should be those who benefit from it. Those who benefit from it are the people in the entire state, not just one particular area of the state. We've seen these relocations, we're going through some of these relocations where we've had to see increased electric costs on the local electric consumer because the road is being widened for the entire state in the benefit of the people in the state. We also locate in the right of way because one thing that we don't want to do is compound the impact that happens to property owners. We have the ability to go outside of that right of way, to locate these utility facilities outside of the state's right of way, but when you do that, they've already gotten property taken away for the widening of the road project, whereas a utility is going to have to come into that private landowner and say, we know that you've lost some land, but yet we've got to take some more. Instead of being responsible with the land that is being used to be able to put all those facilities in one area. We're very supportive of Representative Blackshear. We thank him for his foresight in this and hope for a favorable report out of this committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry.
Carol Brown.
Good afternoon, Chairman Klaus and members of the committee. I'm Carol Brown. I'm here today representing the Broadband Association of Alabama, Mississippi. Many of you may know our association members started many of them as family landline phone companies. A lot of our companies do not meet the threshold that Representative Blackshear mentioned is taken care of in this bill. We are truly the last mile providers. We're the people who connect to the middle mile service that we just had a huge grant that's 96% complete now, thanks to the great work of the DECA and the Digital Expansion Division. The last mile is, as you probably already know, because this legislature has done such a great job funding broadband and supporting our efforts over the years. The last mile is the most expensive, the most difficult, and often the least profitable. So our companies fully support this legislation and thank Representative Blackshear for his efforts. Thank you.
Okay, that wraps up the public hearing process of this. Representative Blackshear.
Yeah, final thoughts would be, I was glad to hear Mr. Harris with AlDOT actually give out some numbers to make sure we're clear. Those numbers came across as, and I know a couple of members on this committee's project were pointed out. This does not say they shall be reimbursed. It says they may be reimbursed with that. This past year, numbers were pulled, there were 154 projects that were fallen underneath this legislation that was in place. 52 of them were reimbursed for a total of $25 million. 102 were not reimbursed a single dime. So it still gives arbitrary decision to AlDOT to be able to do that on the reimbursement. It just requires them to go off and get an estimate from that utility and include that in the overall project cost, and they're seeking matching dollars from the federal government.
Thank you, Representative Blackshear. We're not going to vote on this bill today, so we'll have a subsequent meeting to address this issue. So this time we're going to bring back Senate Bill 271 by Senator Allen and Representative Hollis. You said you had an amendment.
Yes, I do have an amendment, and I'm a little frustrated right now, but I do have the amendment. If I could have them come up and explain it, I could just go along with the amendment. And classification is based on the number of people that's in the system. And so class 1 is when you have 600,000 or more people that live in the city.
I'm going to let read the amendment.
the provisions of subsections B through F shall not apply to Class 1 municipalities as defined in Section 11-3-12 of the Code of Alabama 1975.
Okay, this amendment here, I think we've already got agreements on this, and so this like that right now.
Bill talks about if they don't budget seats, so this amount of money is continuing to grow. And you grow, customers who are just working down.
I think too, the way this bill reads, that citizens of that town can vote to bring up the fees if they want to. So, you know, if this bill makes it through this committee and gets on the floor, this amendment can be brought on the floor. But this time, I'm gonna move to table the amendment, Representative Hollis.
And I have no problem with that, because I was under the impression that everything was worked out. And I apologize for coming half as today, and I'm very pissed off about that. So I will, I'm dead serious, and I will bring it on the floor if the parties agree, and I'm educated more on what I'm asked to do.
So you want to pull the amendment this time?
Yeah.
Okay, so Representative Hollis is going to pull the amendment this time. Now we're back on the bill, Senate Bill 271. Any comments or motions? Representative Travis? Okay, I have a motion by Representative Travis and a second by Representative Marcus to give the bill a favorable report. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Senate Bill 271 passes. Meeting adjourned.